Today on our 2019 Subaru Ascent, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install our Class 3 2-inch CURT Trailer Hitch receiver. This is what our hitch is going to look like installed. Even though the whole hitch is mostly visible, it does flow nicely with the lines and shape of our back bumper. It's also a bonus that the end of our receiver tube sits out a little bit past our back bumper. Now this is an advantage because if we're using any folding accessories, we won't have any interference with our vehicle itself. Now this is a Class 3 hitch, so it's going to utilize that 2-inch by 2-inch opening. It's also going to have your standard size 5/8 hitch pin hole, which it does not come included with a hitch pin and clip. So keep that in mind. If you need one, you can find one on etrailer.com. Now the safety chain loops are going to be a decent size. However, they do sit underneath the tube itself a little bit, so we don't have a ton of space here. So with this bigger loop, it does fit in there pretty good. So I recommend if you have a very large safety chain loop, you may have to get a smaller one to fit in there. This is going to be a pretty versatile hitch. It's going to be great for carrying things like bike racks or cargo carriers or other accessories. It actually has a pretty stout weight rating, so it's going to be good for pulling trailers or even small boats or wave runners too. Speaking of the weight capacities, the maximum tongue weight is 675 pounds, and that's going to be the amount of weight pushing downward on the receiver tube opening. Now the maximum gross trailer weight is 5,000 pounds, and that's the amount of weight that's going to be pulling on our hitch. That's going to be the weight of your trailer plus anything you might have on it. Now it's always a good idea to check with your vehicle's owner's manual to make sure your Subaru can pull that much weight. Now the CURT hitch is going to have a black powder coated finish, which is going to hold up nicely to the elements and help prevent any rust or corrosion. Now I'll go ahead and give you a few measurements, which those are going to help you when deciding which hitch mounted accessories to get. From the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening measures about 13 1/4 inches. This is important when determining if you need a shank with a drop or a rise. From the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge of the rear bumper measures about 1.5 inches. This is important when determining if any of your folding accessories can be placed in the upright storage position without contacting the bumper. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let's go ahead and get it installed. To begin our install, we went ahead and removed the spare tire. Not only do we need to do that to free up some space so we have a little more room to work, but we are actually going to have to remove this spare tire shield. We're going to start by removing these two 10mm bolts here next to the muffler. There's going to be a total of 4, 2 on each side. Now we'll go ahead and repeat that process on the other side. Alright, now to remove our spare tire shield, there's going to be one 12mm bolt here towards the front of the vehicle. Now when you remove this, you don't have to worry about the shield falling and hitting you in the head, because there is actually 2 plastic rivets that are going to hold this in place. And we'll go ahead and remove those next. Alright, here's the plastic rivet. It'll be orange. We actually don't need to destroy those. We can just pull the shield towards the center of the car on each side. And remove it that way. Now with our shield out of the way, we can remove this rubber frame hole plug and this orange fastener. And we can do that with a flathead or even a trim panel removal tool like we have here. Now the other side is set up the exact same way, so we'll go ahead and do that now. And there's one more plug that we'll need to remove right here next to the exhaust hanger. This can be set up the same on each side. We'll go ahead and get both of them out. Alright, now we need to actually cut a portion of this exhaust heat shield off, and we need to do that because this is where our hitch is going to go. Now I went ahead and marked the area that we need to cut here according to our instructions. Now this is pretty thin stuff. You should be able to cut it with a cutoff wheel, a Dremel, even just your regular snips or 10 snips should do the trick. Now we're going to go ahead and repeat that procedure to the other side. Alright, now this hole in the frame rail here, the one closest to the front of the vehicle, we're going to have to enlarge it. Now that's because our hardware will not fit through it. So we're going to use a step bit. You can use a drill bit or anything you might have to enlarge it a little bit. That way our hardware can fit through it. It's the exact same on each side, so once we do this side, we'll carry on to that. And that should do the trick. Perfect. Alright, now we'll go ahead and just take some spray paint. Just put a layer of paint over that bare metal. That way it'll help prevent any rust or corrosion. Go ahead and hit the other side. Alright guys, so now we're going to use our fish wire to pull our hardware into place. We're going to start with this hole closest to the bumper. And so what we're going to do is put this coiled end in the hole. And we're going to fish it up to the hole that we enlarged. Now it can be kind of tricky to get it sometimes. Just take your time. And sometimes you can use a pair of needle nose pliers to grab it and pull it out. And once we have the end, what we're going to do is take our block, slide that into the hole. Then we'll take our carriage bolt and thread that into the fish wire. We will feed that into the hole. And then we'll pull the other end of the wire. And pull it down like that. We're going to do the same thing to this hole. Just kind of a tech tip I'd like to point out. On the end of the wire, if you bend it like this, it will help it from going back into the frame rail. So you could just save yourself a little time by doing that. Pull that through. Just like that. Alright, so now this big hole, this one's going to be a little bit different. All we're going to do is take our fish wire, keep it out in the open like this, put our block on it, and screw in our carriage bolt. And then what we're going to do is actually just feed the bolt in first, and then our block. And you can kind of jiggle it around and get it to come out like that. Now the other side is set up exactly the same, so we'll go ahead and do that next. Now with an extra set of hands, we'll take our hitch, we'll lift it into place. First, it's a good idea to take your fish wires and run them through the holes on our hitch. Now once you have your bolts through, you can remove your fish wire. Now it's a good idea to get one nut hand tight started on each side. Once we have that, the hitch will support itself while we get all the other hardware put on. Alright, now kind of just a tip. If you're having trouble getting the nut on because the bolt is wanting to push up, you can take a flathead and kind of just stick it in between the threads on the bolt and kind of push to the side, and that'll keep some tension on the bolt. That way it doesn't want to go up when you're trying to thread on the nut. Now with all the hardware hand tight, we can use a 3/4 inch socket to run them all down. Okay, so now we can use a torque wrench to torque all the hardware down to the specification. You can find that specification in your instructions. All right, now we can re-secure our heat shield with the two 10mm bolts that we previously removed. All right, now with all the hardware torqued down and everything in place, we can go ahead and put our spare tire back up. Now once your spare tire is back in place, as you can see, it fits up here just fine with plenty of room. And that'll do it for our look at and installation of the Class 3 2-inch CURT Trailer Hitch receiver on our 2019 Subaru Ascent.